Sometimes I should learn to not put my foot, all the way in my mouth. Thanks, CG, made me look like a complete moron. So I was in the middle of my GAC attack phase last night, having a great old time when this post comes up, and I put out a video literally 2 days ago saying, don't worry guys, CG ain't gonna nerf our teams in the raid. That would be a stupid thing to do. And I stand by that statement. However, CG wants to prove me to be just a complete moron because they're already talking about potentially nerfing this raid for us. Oh dear me. I think CG's gonna have to tread super carefully over here if they want this to land. Let's talk about some of the key points they're raising here. The team has been watching your attempts and noticed some bugs and made some observations we wanted to make you aware of. First of all, undersized teams. Now, I don't know why CG in particular is calling this out. There's not really enough context here to clarify what they mean by undersized teams. Undersized teams in raiding has been a thing since raids have been a thing. Crate Dragon Raid had undersized teams. Speeder Bike Raid had undersized teams. What came next, guys? Naboo Raid had undersized teams. This raid has undersized teams. So I think the concept of undersized teams is well established and acceptable to raiding in general. So I'm not sure why they're picking it out, but they're also not entirely clear about which teams they are talking about. We have loads of undersized teams for this. I think in particular, what we can say with certainty is they don't care that the tier 0 teams like Solo Tarkin, Solo Nest, Solo Hunto, I don't think those teams are in any danger because they particularly say when you're talking about the higher modifier tiers. So we're talking about, the Relic 9s, the Relic 8s, maybe the Relic 7s. It's completely unclear because this is very ambiguous, which means those early teams are probably safe. However, we've got undermanned teams for Keller and Beck, we've got undermanned teams for Tarkin, we've got undermanned teams for Mace Windu, and we've got undermanned teams for the other dark side clones, the trio. I'm talking about your CX2 Apo and your disguised clone trooper. Now, when we break these teams down into individual constituent parts, it gives me a little bit of a head scratch as to think, why would they target these teams and which ones is it likely to be? Because if we look at the Tarkin Scorch team, people can argue it's that's a 2-man at R9 doing very well. But think of the characters that you have to use. You have to Relic 9 your Tarkin, which is not a good investment. I know the Executrix is a capital ship. That doesn't mean you have to R9 Tarkin. We're talking about margins upon margins here of improvements on a decent-ish fleet, right? Who wants an R9 Tarkin? Not me, and I have one. And Scorch, alright? Scorch isn't even farmable yet. Brand new marquee. Are they really going to punish you for Relic 9ing a character that does not need to be Relic 9'd and it's not even free-to-play farmable yet? What kind of message does that send to the player base? It says, hey, Wales, I really love the fact that you took all of our brand new dark side clones up to Relic 9. You spent $120 per character, maybe. $110 per character. Maybe you spent a bit more because you're like, you know what, I really want to Relic 9 these characters and Tarkin. And then we perform well in the raid and they rug pull? I don't think that's it, bro. I don't think that's it. And the same can be said for the other 3 Darkside clones. People have farmed these characters, geared them up and taken them to high relic levels and have taken that team into the top difficulty and managed to make that work. It's not an easy team to play. It requires high relics, high levels of really good mods, and good RNG to make it work. And CG wants to take that away because, we can't undersize the raid, even though we've undersized every raid since the pit raid. So what does that leave us? Mace Windu? Mace Windu is the latest legendary character in the game. It required people to take 6 new marquees up to a minimum of Relic 5. And now you're saying if you Relic 9 this character and Relic 9 2 more characters, both of which are pretty much brand new characters. I mean, Depa Balaba, yes. If you're using Jocasta, it's fine. If you're using Temple Guard, also fine. You can use Ayla. You know what I mean? But what I'm trying to say is, in order to get Mace alone, you already needed to have invested heavily financially. And then heavily again on additional gear and relic levels for brand new characters. So I like, in good conscience, I'd be like, CG, you cannot nerf the dark side clones, and you can't nerf Mace. What message does that send to people who are spending hundreds of dollars trying to invest? So what does that leave us with? Keller and Beck. Keller and Beck can undersize at Relic 7, he can undersize Relic 8, Relic 9, okay? He can do all of those tiers. Undersized, provided he has Jocasta Nu, which is the last Conquest unit, right? I know we're working on Smee now, before that was Jocasta Nu. This is the only one that I can maybe see them trying to nerf. And the problem with that is Keller and Beck needs Jocasta Nu, so that already is a fraction of the player base that doesn't have Jocasta Nu and doesn't have her at Relics, right? But if they nerf Keller and Beck, they're basically nerfing the one team that was free to play farmable. The one team that, the earlier game players and the mid-game players have probably got. That would feel mean. I mean, I'm not saying nerf him into the ground, but if you mean it now that he can only score well if you take up additional characters to either Relic 7, 8, or 9, it's like, well, I don't know, guys. That's the only one that I'm kind of like, maybe you could tweak that. Don't make it impossible. Don't make it dependent on having Jocasta Nu. But maybe make it only possible in a full team. I don't know. If we're going to have to concede any ground, I'm wondering if that's it. I don't know. This all just feels... This leaves a bad taste in my mouth. That's why I put out that video. I was like, there's no way they would do this. And yet they're considering it. Now, the other things that they raise in here, and there are twofold, basically. They're talking about some bugs, and they are talking about an additional look at Keller and Beck, which is weird because I thought it would just fit under here. So the first one is talking about Disguised Clone Trooper's ruse is not granting the 20% turn meter boost at the correct time. I don't know the intricacies of what this particular bug is. Are they getting it too early, too late? I don't know. This is news to me. But I want CG to be super, super careful with this particular thing, because they talk about at the end that they need to fix the Bad Batch modifier. We know that the Bad Batch are broken. We are getting the Relic 9 bonuses on every single tier. That shouldn't be a thing. That's clearly a bug. I get it. Fix that. But if you are going to fix this Bad Batch modifier, and then you are going to fix this Order 66 Fox bug, and you are going to fix the Disguised Clone Trooper triggering dots and damage, and you're going to fix the 20% turn meter gain from Disguised Clone Trooper, make sure that we test this incredibly thoroughly. Because I'm hearing tell that Bad Batch is not incredibly reliable, is quite a difficult team and a nuanced team to run well. So if all of a sudden you start making chop and changes to the raid, to the way that the teams play, to the modifiers that we get, you have to make sure that a full Bad Batch team can still score full points if people are doing everything right. If they're doing everything right, let's make sure that we fix things first and then look at bugs and then test the whole thing. Because if we go in after all of these fixes, chops and changes, and we break a bunch of teams and now nobody can max score, that's a problem. I don't mind it being a different strategy. I don't mind it being you need to hit mod thresholds, or we need to understand how to play this correctly. Do not make it a blanket you can or you cannot max score, and do not make it a blanket we just do not want you to be able to use these teams. If people are investing in characters, you have to let them have their victories, CG. Otherwise, you're reinforcing negative behaviors, in my opinion. Okay, so what have we got next? We've got the raid modifier for pirates. I don't know about you guys. I don't care about this. You know what I'm saying? We don't need pirates. Even if you go in with 4 teams in this raid and you've got, a whole guild doing that, you only need to score 2.6 million, which is essentially, 4 Relic 8 teams. I know that's still a heavy investment, But all you need to do is get 2.6 million across 4 teams, so forget Pirates entirely, right? And you will hit the max box for raiding in terms of guild box, right? You need 520 million, which works out to be, what, 10.4 million per player in a full guild of 50. So you can do that by scoring 2.6 million per team across 4 teams for the entire raid. So I don't really care if this pirate modifier changes chops. I'm probably not going to use pirates. I don't need to use pirates. It's nice that they're acknowledging that the pirate modifier is up for change. And same goes for Captain Athano. They're saying they need to do some additional balance testing on his leadership. It's not working out great. Again, I didn't even bother touching him. Until the pirate faction is out, I don't care, guys. Like, we don't have a team for Captain Athano. Why are we changing the leadership already? CG can probably tell because they've probably got all the other kits, right? They've probably got a bit of testing that they're doing with all of their kits, with Quigold, with Kix, with whoever they're going to try and finish off this team with, right? So if their internal testing says they still need to rebalance, absolutely fine, do your thing. I don't care. All right. So what do you think, guys? What do you think's going to happen? Do you think we're going to see any nerfs? Do you think any of them are warranted? And I think, in my personal opinion, bug fixes need to be fixed. You know, bug fixes, fine. Balance fixes is an entirely separate issue. And I think that CG really does need to think very carefully about what sort of message this sends to the people that invest in this game and the free-to-play people that then learn from those people that have, you know, put that heavy level of investment in and decide where to put their really hard-earned resources, because it just kind of come off like stinky cheese to me, and not in the good way. I mean, I love cheese. I do love cheese. But not when it slaps you in the face.